Film Club.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Film Club. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Harrison, and with me, as always, it's Andy Donaldson.
Hello.
Every week in Film Club, we invite you along to watch a film with us, and this week, we're taking a look at The Lost Boys.
Mother and two kids recently go to a new destination to live with their granddad, and they encounter a bunch of four weirdos. And the little kid, the younger brother, joins a comic book store because he's class information on comics, and joins a little anti-vampire society. Whereas equally, the older brother ends up joining the vampires. Yeah, so this comes off a recommendation from my mate Tom. After we did the review for The Thing, which is he requested, I went around, had a couple of beers with him and my mate James, and I said, "Oh, The Lost Boys. You ever seen The Lost Boys?" "No, he's even never seen The Lost Boys." So I was like, "We're going to have to do it because it just seemed like the right opportunity to do it at Film Club." I kind of regret that decision. I'm sorry, Tom. I really do. So we come into the film. Then you have the guard dying. And I was just like, oh, God, this reminds me an awful lot of Mothman prophecies, when they swoop down on the car. Straight after that, they have the scene around the kind of merry-go-round, and you have like Kiefer Sutherland, who's a bit gropey and a bit creepy, and I'm just like, all right. But thankfully, they're an antagonist of the film. I thought we were setting it up, with this new saga of vampires being the heroes and everything, like Twilight and all that. I was thinking, oh, Christ, please tell me that the vampires aren't good because I automatically dislike them already. So I didn't have the best experience watching this. How did you feel, Andy?
So I found this really interesting coming off of last week where we took a look at Point Break. And one of the things we said when we were discussing Point Break was that it was really indicative of the 90s. It was very 90s cheese.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really fitting going into this like film that's really heavily 80s cheese. Now, it's 1987. It's directed by Joel Schumacher. Obviously, Joel Schumacher, very much known for that sort of over-the-top, campy, neon look. Like, he got labelled with that quite heavily after he did Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. And you can sort of see some of the grassroots of that here. I think you can see what he's doing here. A lot of his stuff is a bit tongue-in-cheek. It's very campy. It's very self-aware.
You're a creature of the night, Michael. Just like out of a comic book. You're a vampire, Michael. My own brother, a goddamn shit-sucking vampire. Oh, you wait till Mom finds out, buddy. Sam, you wait. Sam!
I actually had quite a good time with this. I really, really enjoyed it.
Did you?
I think that it is pure style over substance. I think that, like, narratively, the story, there's no real grounds for it. This film basically could have been about anything. And the moment they kick in with that thick atmosphere, there's thick fog, there's sort of thick neon lights everywhere, it's drenched in this like 80s licensed soundtrack. I was like, all right, this film can be about anything. I'm going to watch this.
To be fair, the one staple throughout this film for me was the soundtrack. It was absolutely killer. I really want to know the tune that they have where they use it towards the end as well, but it's a brilliant song. And I was like, where the kids in the background go, da, da. I can't remember what it is. For me, that was the only thing going for it, which is a real shame. And I don't mean to be too negative, but it's hard to be positive for me watching this because I watched it on lunch, put it that way, and I was more inclined to go back to work.
Hey, Grandpa! Is it okay if we borrow your car?
We always talk about like kind of our issues going through films, and it's really hard to get like to cast a young child, and the child actors can kind of be annoying. And the films where they're good really pulls through. I really found this the opposite. I found the group, even Kiefer Sutherland, who we know to be a good actor, I've really struggled with him and his crew. I've really struggled with the guy who played Michael. Why didn't they focus more on the kids? I had Corey Feldman from what's that film on the train tracks?
It's Stand By Me.
Stand By Me, thank you. But I was just thinking him and his brother, obviously the little brother as well, why did they utilise them more? They had much more personalities going through, and I was really... Because I read about this, I read how it kind of paved the way for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, first the film, and then obviously Joss Whedon did his own thing with the series. You could see that kind of spark of anti-vampire society in this cool, like, build of the comic books, and, you just saw this kind of, like, that's where the campiness that I really liked came from.
There's a heavy feeling of this film being, like, sort of two sides of a coin. You've got everything that Jason Patrick, Michael, is sort of going through that sort of transformation into a vampire to him it's very real, and it's very terrifying, and it messes with him psychologically. And he has very grounded sort of character motivation. On the flip side of it, you've got Corey Haim as Sam, his brother, who is like almost out of a different film. Him and the Frog Brothers, I feel like they're sort of doing this like self-aware, like, we're basically 14-year-olds, but don't worry about it. We're professional vampire slayers. Like, we're going to crawl into this cave with you. There's a bit of a Goonies thing about it. We're going to stab this guy through the heart. We don't worry about it. Like, there's definitely some fear going on there, but they're taking everything a bit more lighthearted. But then you've got it sort of rubbing up against this very like straight, very serious story. It's a weird dichotomy that definitely gives it a bit of a unique personality. Like, Joel Schumacher's strength has, I think, always been his ability to present something in sort of an overly campy sort of light manner, but then also retain some of its like depth.
I really struggled to see the depth of this film. I felt like the last half hour was a nice little payoff when they do come together in the anti-vampire society. Even the moment at the table where it is a bit daft, it is a bit, is he a vampire? Which is absolutely the twist, to be fair, got me. I was like, oh shit, did it get you?
So I don't know about you, but I was very much aware that he was the leader the moment that he asked to be invited into the building.
Oh, see, I completely missed that because I'm a melt. So it was that, and then the garlic and everything. And I was like, oh, like this, and I was like, oh, I thought it was just like kind of goofy moment of, like upsetting the new boyfriend and all this. So when it came back there, I was like, oh shit. And then I thought it was really cool how like the quirky granddad came back to save him with the dodgy car horn. So that's what I mean. Like for such a shit build up, that payoff was actually quite good.
I mean, someone in the comments might be able to tell me this, but why does the head vampire have a reflection when he's at the dinner table?
It was implied that every vampire's weakness or whatever they have gets quelled when you get invited in a house.
Just in case you want some more self-punishment, by the way, this did actually get 2 sequels.
How?
So it's got a straight-to-DVD sequel called Lost Boys: The Tribe, and then a film called Lost Boys: The Thirst that was actually released in 2010.
And I'm sure that they went down really well.
Well, it's still got Corey Feldman in.
No, wait, really?
Yeah.
I would say I might watch it, but it's not going to happen, is it? It's. I know I'm really like opinionated about stuff like this, and I know I get like, if I don't like something, like you know it, and obviously you as an audience as well know it. And I'm sorry that I'm quite opinionated about this stuff, but if something doesn't click with me, I fucking hate it. So it's I'm sorry, Tom, as well, for recommending it, and James, and I was just like, I got so far and I was just fucking done. And I was sat there with a massive frown on my face, just going, here we go, I'll have to watch it. And I'm glad, to be fair, I'm glad I watched the end because I said it did pay off. But I just got to the end and I was just like, all right, here we go. Sound. So, yeah, I'm sorry.
So, there is The Lost Boys. You can let us know in the comments below what you thought of The Lost Boys, whether you loved it, whether you hated it. But Andy and I are going to be back once again next week, where it's time to take a look at Before the Devil Knows You're Dead.
Cheers, guys.
Until then, get watching.